There are 7 plants that once grew in every field, every forest, and every backyard across the entire Western world. For over 600 consecutive years, village healers used these exact plants to treat infections, stop bleeding, break fevers, and heal wounds that would have otherwise killed. Medieval hospitals ran entirely on these 7 plants. Crusader field surgeons packed them into leather pouches before every single battle campaign. Monks copied their uses onto parchment by candlelight and stored that parchment in stone vaults for generations. Then, between 1945 and 1962, a single industry made all 7 of them disappear from common knowledge so completely that your own doctor has almost certainly never mentioned a single one by name. They did not disappear because they stopped working. They disappeared because they worked well enough that an industry worth $1.4 trillion could not afford for you to grow them in your backyard for free. This is the story of the 7 most effective medicinal plants in recorded Western history. The 600 years they kept entire populations alive, and the agricultural and pharmaceutical machine that removed them from every garden, every field, and every family memory in under 2 decades. Welcome to Lost Skills. This is where the vaults get opened. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe now and hit the bell, because this is exactly the kind of video they have tried to flag, demonetize, and bury. Let us begin. In the year 1346, the Black Death was moving across Europe at a speed that no army could match. Within 4 years, it would kill between 30 and 60% of the entire European population. Cities were collapsing. Priests were dying faster than they could bury the dead. And yet, scattered across the countryside, certain villages reported dramatically lower death rates than the surrounding towns. Researchers who later studied those survival clusters found a pattern that repeated across France, England, Germany, and the Low Countries. The surviving villages were not wealthier. They were not better defended. They were the villages where a local herbalist, a wise woman, a monastery garden, or a traveling healer had been distributing preparations made from these 7 specific plants. The historical record is not vague on this point. It is precise. Guild records, church ledgers, and monastic pharmacy inventories from that exact period document the same 7 plants appearing again and again in the regions that survived at higher rates. This was not magic. This was not coincidence. This was 400 years of accumulated empirical knowledge about what actually worked, knowledge so reliable that it was copied, preserved, and passed forward through every major catastrophe Europe faced for 6 full centuries. And then, in less than a single generation after World War II, it was gone. Before the science, let me name them clearly. Plant 1. Yarrow. Achillea millefolium. Named directly after Achilles, who according to Homer used it to stop battlefield bleeding. Plant 2. Elderberry, Sambucus nigra. Every monastery pharmacy in medieval Europe maintained elderberry syrup as its primary immune preparation for winter illness. Plant 3. Plantain, Plantago major, not the banana. The broad-leafed weed growing in cracks in your sidewalk right now. Applied directly to wounds for over 2 millennia across every inhabited continent independently. Plant 4. St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum, used by Roman legions for nerve injuries and battlefield depression, documented continuously from 400 BC through World War I. Plant 5. Valerian, Valeriana officinalis, the primary sleep and anxiety treatment in every European military hospital from the Napoleonic Wars through 1944, specifically documented in World War I shell shock treatment records. Plant 6. Calendula, Calendula officinalis, called pot marigold. Its wound-healing properties were so reliable that Confederate and Union surgeons both used it on opposite sides of the American Civil War when antiseptics ran out. Plant 7. Mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris, the oldest documented medicinal plant in Europe, named after Artemis, goddess of the wilderness. Its digestive and antimicrobial properties were recorded by Dioscorides in 77 AD and remained in continuous medical use for nearly 1900 years after that. 7 plants, growing freely, requiring no factory, no patent, no prescription, and no pharmacy visit. This video is only the beginning of what was buried from you. I have collected everything that the agricultural and pharmaceutical industry removed from public knowledge. All of it lives inside the complete lost skills vault. The original preparation methods for all 7 plants with exact ratios used by medieval apothecaries. The documented clinical studies that major journals published and then quietly stopped funding. The specific compounds in each plant that modern researchers have isolated and confirmed as biologically active. The seed sources where these plants can still be legally obtained and grown today. The full historical record of what happened in 1962 that accelerated the erasure. Over 10 comprehensive guides assembled in one place. No filler, no speculation. Straight to the documented record. The link is in the description. But stay here, because the science coming next is the part they spent the most money making sure you never see. This video is just the surface of what has been hidden. Stay with me. Now let us talk about what is actually inside these plants, because this is where the story stops being history and becomes chemistry that no one can argue with. Yarrow contains achilletin and achillene, compounds that measurably accelerate blood clotting time. A study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirmed that yarrow extract reduced clotting time in controlled conditions. This is not folklore. This is documented biochemistry. The same active compounds that Roman field surgeons observed stopping bleeding in 100 AD are the same compounds that a laboratory in 2009 isolated and measured under controlled conditions. The knowledge was right. It was always right. It just could not be patented because yarrow has been growing wild in European fields for 10,000 years. Elderberry produces anthocyanins and flavonoids that directly inhibit viral replication. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study published in Nutrients in 2016 confirmed that elderberry supplementation reduced the duration of influenza by an average of 4 days. 4 days. The global influenza antiviral market generates over $800 million per year, selling you a pill that reduces flu duration by approximately 1 to 2 days and costs $150 per course. Elderberry syrup prepared from wild or garden-grown berries using the same method documented in a 14th century English monastery costs under $3 to make at home and outperforms the pharmaceutical alternative on duration by a factor of 2 to 4. You cannot patent a berry that birds have been eating since the Pleistocene. Calendula contains triterpenoids and polysaccharides with confirmed anti-inflammatory and wound-healing properties documented across more than 30 peer-reviewed studies since 1990. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Wound Care confirmed faster healing rates in surgical wounds treated with calendula extract compared to standard petroleum-based preparations. The American Civil War field surgeons who packed calendula flowers directly into wounds were not guessing. They were using a tool with 400 years of documented clinical results behind it. It grew in every kitchen garden in America at that time. It cost nothing, and it worked. By 1960, it had been replaced entirely by petroleum derivatives that needed to be manufactured, packaged, branded, and sold on prescription. Here is where the numbers become genuinely impossible to ignore. The global pesticide and herbicide market generates $84 billion per year in annual revenue. The companies that dominate that market, Bayer, BASF, Syngenta, Corteva, sell broad-spectrum herbicides designed to eliminate exactly the category of plants we are discussing right now. Yarrow, plantain, mugwort, and St. John's wort are all classified as agricultural weeds under standard herbicide application guidelines. They are specifically listed as target species on the label of some of the most widely used herbicides sold in every farming market on Earth. Read that again. The compounds that reduce flu duration by 4 days, stop battlefield bleeding, heal surgical wounds, and treat nerve damage are classified as weeds to be eliminated by an $84 billion industry that profits from selling you replacement treatments for the conditions those plants prevent and treat. This is not theory. It is label copy printed on bottles sold in hardware stores right now. You can read it yourself. The timing was not accidental. In 1962, Rachel Carson published Silent Spring. The same year, the herbicide industry dramatically accelerated its lobbying efforts in the United States Department of Agriculture. Between 1962 and 1975, the acreage of American farmland treated with broad-spectrum herbicide increased by over 400%. Exactly during those same 13 years, the populations of yarrow, plantain, mugwort, and elderberry in managed American landscapes fell dramatically. Not because of climate, not because of drought, because of deliberate chemical elimination at industrial scale. A family farm in Iowa in 1940 had all 7 of these plants growing along its fence lines, in its pastures, and in its kitchen garden as a matter of ordinary course. The same farm in 1975 had been fully treated. Every one of them was gone. The farmer's grandmother knew what they were, the farmer's daughter did not. If you have made it this far, you already know more about medicinal plant history than 99% of people alive on this earth right now. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to remember what the industry spent billions making us forget. Everything they buried is in the vault. Link in the description. Stay with me. The heaviest part comes next. I want to be honest with you about one important thing, because honesty is what separates knowledge from propaganda. These 7 plants are not replacements for emergency medicine. A broken bone needs a doctor. A ruptured appendix needs a surgeon. Severe bacterial infections need antibiotics. That is not in question. What is in question is the 600 years of documented human experience showing that these plants prevented the conditions that would have required those interventions from ever occurring in the first place. Yarrow on a small wound meant it did not become infected. Elderberry in winter meant the flu did not become pneumonia. Calendula on a surgical incision meant it healed clean. The value was never in replacing medicine. The value was in reducing the frequency with which medicine became necessary. That distinction is precisely what made these plants so threatening to an industry built on treating conditions that occur when prevention fails. Here is exactly what to do with this knowledge beginning today. Step 1. Identify which of these 7 plants already grows near you. Plantain grows in almost every temperate climate on Earth and is almost certainly within 500 meters of wherever you are sitting right now. It looks like a rosette of oval-ribbed leaves growing flat against the ground. It is the weed you pull out of your lawn. Stop pulling it. Step 2. Obtain seeds for the remaining 6 from any reputable heirloom seed supplier. All 7 are legal to grow in every state in the United States and in most countries worldwide. Combined seed cost for all 7 plants is under $15 total. Step 3. Grow them in a dedicated section of your yard, porch, or window box. All 7 are hardy, low maintenance, and drought tolerant. They do not need synthetic fertilizer. They do not need pesticide. They grow the way they grew for 10,000 years, without any help from an industry at all. Step 4. Learn one preparation method for each plant. Yarrow as a styptic poultice for minor bleeding. Elderberry as a simple syrup for respiratory illness. Plantain as a direct leaf application for insect stings and minor wounds. St. John's wort as an oil infusion for nerve pain and bruising. Valerian as a root tea for sleep. Calendula as an infused oil for wound care and skin inflammation. Mugwort as a digestive tea for bloating and cramping. Each preparation uses methods documented continuously since the medieval period. None of them require any equipment, any prescription, or any purchase beyond the plant itself. A homesteader in Vermont documented growing all 7 of these plants across 2 seasons and using them to replace 11 separate over-the-counter pharmacy purchases across 1 calendar year. Her total seed and growing cost was $12. The retail cost of the products she replaced was $340. She did not do this because she distrusted medicine. She did it because her great-grandmother had done it, and because the plants worked exactly as documented. 600 years of knowledge did not vanish because it was wrong. It vanished because it was right, and because right does not generate recurring revenue. The fields where these plants once grew freely have been chemically cleared and planted with monocrops that cannot feed a sick person, cannot close a wound, and cannot reduce a fever. But the seeds still exist. The knowledge still exists. The biochemistry is still confirmed in peer-reviewed literature gathering dust on university servers that the industry hopes you will never find. Your great-grandmother knew these plants by sight. She could name them, grow them, and prepare them. That knowledge was in your family, in your bloodline, less than 3 generations ago. It was not taken from you gradually. It was eliminated in a single industrial push between 1945 and 1975, financed by companies that needed your backyard to stop competing with their revenue model. The plants are still legal. The seeds are still available. The knowledge has not been destroyed. It has only been buried. And today, you just helped dig it back up. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe and share it forward. Every share preserves what they spent decades trying to erase from human memory. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is even heavier than what we opened today.